is Smart Consulting Sourcing, the only podcast about consulting procurement or how to buy consulting services. You'll get tips on how to use consulting, buy consulting, and managing the consulting. And now your host, Helene Lafitte.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Smart Consulting Sourcing, the only podcast about consulting procurement. I'm Helene, and in this series, How to Buy Consulting Services Like a Pro, I'm here to share my expertise and help you navigate the complex world of consulting procurement. So in today's episode, we'll be talking about how to define the consulting DNA of the firm you need for your project. The right consulting firm can make all the difference to the success of your project, and understanding its unique strengths and capabilities is crucial to find the perfect match. But before we dive into today's topic, let me give you a recap of the key points from last week. You should aim at creating an engaging selection process for consulting firms. One aspect is to build a structured and transparent process, giving consultants a clear understanding of what to expect. Because the goal is to generate enthusiasm among consulting firms, making them eager to participate in your RFP process and submit their best proposals. So put emphasis on staying impartial and safeguarding confidentiality by executing non-disclosure agreements and having members from different backgrounds in the screening panel. This ensures everyone involved that fairness and openness take precedence over all else. Help your consultant build their winning proposal by describing what content you expect, such as approach, deliverables, team composition, fees, and workload. And you can also ask for references on past projects, CVs of consultants, or thought leadership pieces in the specific field you're interested in. Ensure that you have all the essential information needed to make an educated decision. Also provide clear instructions for submitting questions and share relevant responses with all participants. Indicate how you will pick the winner, and that can be based on client feedback, skill set, comprehensive approach, and deliverables provided, as well as team composition. And also don't forget to give a single point of contact to your consultants throughout the entire bidding procedure. So if you need help catching up, don't worry, we've got you covered. All of our episodes can be found on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube for easy listening. And the full transcripts are available on the thought leadership section of our website, consultingquest.com, if you're more into reading. Now let's go back to today's topic. Have you ever heard the famous saying by the legendary Warren Buffett? Price is what you pay, value is what you get. It may seem this principle is not always applied when buying consulting services. We've talked about the vast and diverse landscape of consulting services in previous episodes. With so many offerings and innovative players, finding the right consulting firm for your business can be time-consuming and complicated. But don't worry, because if you work with the right supplier, then you can create value through consulting and maximize the success of your project. So it's worth it. You want consultants who understand your business, have the right knowledge and expertise, and are available to meet your project needs. In other words, you need a consulting supplier with the right consulting DNA profile. So listen to your teams and dig deep to solve your most challenging business problems. With the right consulting firm, you'll be unstoppable. But now you're probably wondering how to define that consulting DNA profile you need. Well, every project is unique, and so is their RFP. However, there are some elements of a consulting profile that you can always screen. The best way to go about it is to review your RFP and discuss with your colleagues to understand their expectations in details. What are the main characteristics or markers they're looking for? By doing this, you can finely tune your search and find the perfect consulting supplier to meet your need. It's all about being thorough and making sure you're making the most value for your money. So now, let's talk consulting 101. It all starts with understanding the basics, capabilities, and industry expertise. You want to know exactly what capabilities consulting firm will use to deliver your project. But sometimes that description can sound like, gibberish. That's where you come in. you need to act as a translator and make sure you understand what they are offering. For example, a company might list its capabilities as strategy, operation, and organization on their website. But what does that really mean? It can be pretty broad and confusing, especially for the average executive. But fear not, because if you dig a little deeper and look at the specific, like supply chain strategy, supply chain organization, distribution strategy, asset and working capital optimization, it becomes much easier to understand their expertise. So to make sure you find the right consulting supplier for your project, you need to do your homework and understand their capabilities and expertise. Lucky for you, we have a comprehensive guide on a website called Global Management Consulting Industry that can help you out. This guide provides all sorts of valuable insights and information on the consulting industry to help you make informed decisions. So head on over to consultingquest.com if you want to know more. Then you need to define the industry experience you're looking for. So it may sound like an easy task, but be warned, it's all in the details. You need to pick up on the context and expected results to define what breadth and depth of knowledge you need. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're in the oil and gas industry and you are interested in the industry broadly, or maybe your project is focused on upstream operations or exploration production, or more specifically about well stimulation. See, that's more precise. So take a deep dive into your project and figure out exactly what you need. It's all about being specific and finding the right fit. Next step, geography and footprint. So the scope of your project can call for a global company or a company with offices in a specific country. You need to consider where the consulting firm will need to work, what languages they'll need to talk, and what cultures they need to understand. It's also important to think about where and how the team should interact with project leaders. Let's take an example of a lean project for a high-tech company based in Germany with factories in Korea and the US. You might want to find a company with offices and consultants in both countries, so you don't end up with a German guy trying to explain how to organize work in a Texas factory. Although that could make for a very interesting sitcom, right? But wait, there's more. Don't forget to factor in travel expenses. When consultants come from far away, the additional expenses can go up to 25 to 30% of your initial project budget. So ask yourself, do you really need the consultant on site? Or can you leverage modern communication technologies? It's all about finding the right balance between cost and efficiency. Now, let me tell you an ugly truth. In consulting, size really does matter. When it comes to consulting firm, you need to consider your policies regarding small or even independent consultants. But you also need to think about your project timeline. Okay, let's imagine that you have a tight timeline and multiple locations. Then you might want to consider a larger company with a global footprint, because those big dogs, they have the resources and manpower to get things done quickly and efficiently. But if your timeline is a bit looser and you only need support on one single location, you can properly make it work with a smaller firm. So it all comes down to finding the right fit for your project needs. Don't be afraid to go big or go small. Just make sure you pick the perfect size for your consulting needs. Let's talk about credibility now, the holy grail of consulting. Credibility is usually established through three main channels: brand, thought leadership, and partner profile. Now, sometimes you really do need a big brand for your project. When your project has high exposure to the board or is politically charged, you want to work with the big players. They've got credibility at the highest level of the company and with your investors. And their shoulders are big enough to roll with the punches if you need a scapegoat. But fortunately, there are other ways to establish credibility. Companies with relevant thought leadership can bring you insights at the right level of expertise and in niche fields. Let's say you're looking for deep expertise in multimodal transportation for process industries. Your team might be reluctant to work with consultants because they know nothing, right? We've heard that, all of us. But if you bring in a consultant who wrote a book or several white papers about network distribution optimization or multimodal transportation, there's a good chance your team will welcome them with open arms. Now, let's not forget about the partner profile. When you're building an entrepreneurial program to boost your innovation, for instance, you want to look at innovation consulting firms who have a mix of entrepreneurial and corporate experience. And when you need to optimize the tail spend without a lot of resources, working with consultants who have a past in corporate procurement can be super efficient. Now we're going to talk about elements that are often overlooked: delivery model and culture. Now let's start with the different consulting delivery models and which one will work best for you. Ask yourself, do you need a consultant to help diagnose a problem or design a strategy? Or do you need support in implementing your decisions? And it's rare to find a consulting firm that excels at this. And implementation consultants are usually less expensive than strategy consultants, so choose wisely. Another thing to consider is whether you want a hard or a soft approach. In other words, are you prioritizing getting buy-in from your team and a collaborative approach? Then you might want a consultant with a high sensitivity to change. But if your priority is just getting the work done, you'll need a consultant focused on the hard aspect of the project. And then, how senior do you need your consultants to be? If you want to professionalize your team's processes, you'll need senior consultant with on-field experience. But if you're just after results, you can work with young consultants supervised by a more experienced colleague. It all depends on your priority and your goals. And finally, don't forget to take into account the cultural differences. Well, we all know how diverse and quirky our world can be, right? From finger-patting Northerners to grumbling Southerners, every country has its own management culture, business etiquette, and communication preferences. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, but with people. So when it comes to consulting projects in Asia, for instance, you definitely need consultants who understand the local culture and language. Because trust us, 50% of the message can easily get lost in translation. And you don't want to end up nodding politely while actually having no clue of what's going on. Yes, that's something that happened for real. And for instance, in some Western countries, silence means consent. But in Asia, it could mean the complete opposite. And let's not forget about the embarrassment factor. While some cultures love to air their dirty laundry in public, yes, we're looking at you, France or Italy, others might feel quite uncomfortable disagreeing openly, right, China? So if you want your consulting project to be a success, make sure you find consultants who can navigate cultural differences with ease. And after all, you don't want to end up with a Rubik's Cube that even more scrambled than before. Now that you have a good grasp of the different elements that make a consulting supplier's DNA, it's time to find your match made in consulting heaven. It's like online dating, but for business. Just like on a dating app, you need to know what you're looking for to find your perfect match. So take some time to consider your needs and create your consulting DNA profile. And next week, we'll dive into the exciting world of searching for your perfect consulting match. So what did we learn today? Well, we learned that when it comes to buying consulting services, it's all about the value and not just the price. We talked about how to define the consulting DNA profile and find the perfect consulting suppliers for your business. It all starts with understanding their capabilities, industry expertise, and geographic footprint. But we also learned that credibility is key, and there are many ways to establish it, whether it's through brand recognition, thought leadership, and partner profile. And don't forget about the delivery model, culture, and seniority of your consultants. But more importantly, we learned that consulting projects can be a Rubik's Cube of cultural differences. So finding consultants who understand the local culture and language is essential. So take some time to create your consulting DNA profile and find your match made in heaven, just like online dating, but for business. And that's it for this week's episode of a consulting podcast. We hope you enjoy learning about the different elements to make up a consulting supplier's DNA and how to define that profile for your project needs. Remember, finding the perfect consulting match is like online dating for your business. It takes time, effort, and a little bit of luck. And next week, we'll reveal our secret to searching and finding the right consulting supplier for your project. So till then, stay safe and happy sourcing. And if you have any questions regarding today's topic or any consulting procurement related topic, actually, remember you can always contact me directly on LinkedIn or by email because I'm always game for a chat. Bye, and see you next week. Au revoir.
You've been listening to Smart Consulting Sourcing, the only podcast about consulting procurement. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hit the website at consultingquest.com. Find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. For questions and comments, send an email to ellen.lafitte@consultingquest.com. See you next time.